Hey guys, this is Red and Blue, the channel on YouTube for all things PSG in English. Please subscribe. Today, let's talk about the draw of the Champions League, which is coming up. It's going to be tomorrow around 6 p.m. French time. I'm actually thinking of something, so let me know what you think in the comment. I'll start with that. I'm actually thinking of doing something live, so we can all follow it together. So let me know if that's something that's going to be interesting to you, or like if you don't want it and like just have a video after it. But yeah, something I'm thinking about. So just let me know what you think. The draw, like I said, tomorrow 6 p.m. French time. If you missed it last year, we're essentially going to be drawn against 8 teams for the group stage. There's 4 pots of teams. So we're going to get 2 teams in each pot, one that we play at home in Paris, one that we play away. The games being played from September all the way to January. And we need to end up in the first 8 teams to qualify straight into the first knockoff round. If we end up between 8 and 24, then we get an extra round like we did last year with Brest. And if we end up after the 24th, we just that ends our UCL campaign. So just not go there. The little change that we have versus last year is that the position that you're going to end up at in the group stage is going to impact all the way to the final, in the sense that the team that's higher ranked in the group phase will get the chance to host in the knockout rounds at home in the return game, which is usually seen as quite an advantage. It's not foolproof by any means. We've seen it by qualifying in Anfield and in Aston Villa for that matter. But yeah, it is something to keep in mind that the higher up you end up being, the more you're going to host the return games at your place during all of the knockout groups. So something which definitely like kind of an advantage. So yeah, something we should aim for. Going straight in, like what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 4 potential groups for PSG. One which is like the easy draw, quote unquote, because it's still Champions League, so there's still plenty of hard games in there. One would be the hard draw, which would be kind of the nightmare scenario. One is a ChatGPT draw. So I saw like actually a YouTuber that I follow asked ChatGPT to simulate the draw with all of the rules 1,000 times, and he actually like did a draw with like the teams that would come back the most. So this is kind of a ChatGPT most likely draw. It's quite interesting in itself, and then I'll give you like my personal opinion on like the draw I'd like to see, which is somewhere in the middle as well. So let me see. Yes, I think we're starting here. Yeah, with the easy draw. So you can see on the right, I've got like all of the teams that qualified in the 4 pots. So like I said, we need 2 teams in each pot. We cannot face teams from France. So Marseille is out. Monaco is out as well. And it means that for the English teams, it's like it's got implication for country with a lot of teams qualified, more than for us. And then, like I said, so with 2 teams per pot, but also like you cannot have more than 2 teams from the same country. So we cannot face like the 5 English teams. We cannot face like the 4 Spanish ones. You've got to like just pick a few from each country, which is going to be interesting. So for me, the easy draw from the first pot, I've got Inter and Dortmund, which I think admittedly would be like the 2 weakest teams in that pot. Inter would be kind of interesting to have a remake of the Champions League final, and yeah, Dortmund is always an interesting one for the fans. In the second pot, I've got Villarreal and Club Brugge. So same thing. I think for me, like probably the 2 weakest of pot 2. I think Atalanta is also like not very far from there. But I think Atalanta typically like they're more structured tactically, so it could be like a trickier game, especially if you play them away from home. versus a Villarreal who hasn't played in the Champions League in quite a few years. Club Brugge is more used to Champions League, but they lost quite a few of their players. I'm assuming like Ordonez is going to end up going before the end of the Mercato. They lost Jashari, so they did lose quite a few fundamental players for them, so they could be a good draw there. Pot 3, I picked up Bodo Glimt and Slavia Prague. Both of which I don't think we've played in our history, or at least definitely not recently. Could be interesting. I kind of cringe a little bit at the prospect of going to play in Norway in January or in December. Hopefully that's not what happens, because that would make an easy draw like very much more difficult straight away. But yeah, interesting to play some new teams. And yes, Slavia Prague, it's a club with a huge history, but could be a relatively easy one. Since we can't play Marseille, that would be like obviously the easiest of them all. And then in pot 4, I've picked Ferencváros and Red Star. So Kverna, Zvezda. Both of which, yeah, I think like a little bit easier than some of the others in that pot. I think Copenhagen supposedly wouldn't be far. Union Saint-Gilles also like Belgium team should be doable as well. But yeah, like that's kind of what I picked here for I think like what would be the easy draw. And honestly, like if tomorrow night like we end up with this as our group phase, we can be very, very happy and feel good about ourselves. Even if PSG always has a tendency to make easy game hard on us, that would be a relatively good one. On the other end, the hard one, and that's the one we don't want to see tomorrow. I've got Liverpool and Barcelona in pot 1, who I think are still two of the top teams in Europe. Finished 1 and 2 of the group phase last year. Obviously, Liverpool was a tough game for us and fixture in the knockoff round of the Champions League last year. Barcelona is always going to be tricky, especially if we play them over there. They've been clamoring as well at like trying to pretend that they're better than us. So honestly, it's not necessarily a game I would want to see. But yeah, Chelsea, I don't know. Like I considered it because I do think Chelsea is good. Bayern Munich as well could be a really, really tough one. But yeah, ultimately I went with those two. In pot 2, I've got also teams that we know and we faced recently. Arsenal is still going to be a tough one, even if they picked up a couple of injuries in the last game, which with Saka and Odegaard, which could impact them into the next couple of months. So there's a scenario where it might be slightly easier to play them, assuming that we play them soon. But yeah, obviously they were in semi-final of the Champions League last year, and they picked up some more talent in the Mercato. So that's a tough customer. Atletico Madrid. Yeah, say what you want about Atletico Madrid. It's not like the best football team in the world, and we beat them pretty soundly in the Club World Cup. But at the same time, it's always a pain to play. They picked up like quite a few decent players in the Mercato as well. So it could be a tricky one. And we played them in the group stage last year. It didn't end well for us at all. So obviously it's a team that I personally I rank and I'd rather avoid. In pot 3, the good news is that we cannot face English teams anymore because we've got Liverpool and Arsenal. We cannot face. I made a mistake actually. I was going to say we cannot face Spanish teams, so we'll come to that. I'll do it on the fly. But yeah, for pot 3, so I cannot face Tottenham. So I picked up PSV and Napoli. PSV last year was pretty tricky, so I've got them there. And I do think out of all of the teams remaining, they're probably the toughest one. Napoli as well. If we play them, especially if we play them in Napoli, that's always a hard fixture. It's an interesting one and a fun one. So yeah, we'll talk about it more. But yeah, definitely when you compare with the likes of even Sporting would be like a tough opponent, I guess, within this spot, or Ajax. I think those two teams are a little bit better, a little bit stronger, a little bit harder to play. And in pot 4, so I made a mistake. Athletic Club, like that's a Spanish team, so we cannot play them since we're already playing Barcelona and Atletico. So the first one I had was Celtic, which I think is always a tough opponent. We cannot play Newcastle. So then the other team I would pick would be Galatasaray. So it'd be Celtic Galatasaray instead of Celtic Athletic Club. And yeah, like that would be like really a tough one for us. Watch it become truth because we know that PSG will always get the hard draws. So you know, like take notes and watch this happen live tomorrow. And we can say that everything is fake with UEFA and everything was prepared in advance. Now the ChatGPT draw. So like I said, it's I got this from a PSG YouTuber who simulated 1,000 draws with ChatGPT, and then he took like the teams that came back the most. So this is a way of like what would not quite random draw, but a way of looking at how it's a very complicated draw. Like I said, with the rules of like you cannot play more than two teams from the same country. You cannot play teams from your own country. It creates a lot of complexity, and so it's kind of a way of how would the odd actually like aggregate over quite a few draw to create what would be the most likely scenario. So from pot 1, we've got Barcelona and Liverpool, which are my nightmare scenario. From pot 2, we've got Atletico, which is part of my nightmare scenario, and then Club Brugge, which is part of my easy scenario. From pot 3, we've got Napoli and Olympiacos, which would be, I guess, like both hard games for the fans, for the ultras more than anything. And then pot 4, we've got Red Star, which I had in my easy draw, and Union Saint-Gilles from Belgium, which I think would also be like a relatively good opponent for us. I'd be pretty happy with that. So it's pretty balanced overall. I think there's some tough fixtures in there. Whether we go to Anfield or to Barcelona, there's going to be a hard away from home game. Napoli or Olympiacos, if we play them at their grounds, both could end up being tricky games. But yeah, overall, that's a draw. We're the reigning champions, so there's no one that I'm completely scared of. And ultimately, like the way this group phase is structured, I do feel that we should qualify and we should be able to get into the top 8 this year. We don't want to do the same thing as last year, which is, have a hard group phase and then like qualify at the last minute and have to suffer through all of the following round. I think we need to learn from that and, do the job a little bit better in the group phase so that we can first save ourselves a couple of extra games. Which would be good for us, and then also, like I said, try to host in the return as much as we can in the following later rounds, which I think is going to be important. Cool. And then to close off on, I've got like my personal draw. So I didn't like do it with the balls by myself or anything. This is a little bit of a mix between the team that I would like to play and what I think we're likely to get. So it's not quite the easy draw. But it's also like kind of a balanced version and another one that I think could happen and I'd be like relatively happy with as well. From pot 1, I've got Man City and Dortmund. Dortmund just because it's on the easier side. Man City because I think with so many English teams qualified, chances are we're going to be playing one at some point. And honestly, like I'd rather face Man City in pot 1 than Arsenal in pot 2, Tottenham in pot 3, or Newcastle in pot 4. Plus, last year it really set us up for success in the Champions League. So with that in mind, I wouldn't mind facing them again. And I think, they've recruited a lot, but I don't think it's quite set. Their team is not like top level yet with all of those new signings. So there's an opportunity to play them and beat them and actually have a good game against them. From pot 2, I've got Atalanta and Club Brugge. Both of them a mix of being on the slightly easier side, and definitely Club Brugge was part of my easy draw, but also like teams that we're not so used to playing, because like I'm sorry, but Atletico Madrid, we've played them 20 times recently. Arsenal, same thing. Eintracht, I think we've played them last year. Juventus, we played them with Galtier. We played them a few times. So yeah, it's also like a little bit of something new. I think Villarreal would be an interesting one in that context as well. I didn't want to make it like too easy either. I think Atalanta is there. It's got that right level of being a little bit tricky, but also like pretty manageable for us. So yeah. Leverkusen could be interesting as well. I don't think we've played them, and I've got a great mate of mine who's an ultra there. So I'd have a fun time with that one if we get them. But yeah, I put Atalanta and Club Brugge. Pot 3, I've got Napoli and Ajax. Napoli, I think, all ultras have a very strong relationship with the Napoli ultras. And so I think it'd be like a really good game for them and a really nice one from the perspective of fan friendship. Napoli fans are crazy, and it's a hot stadium. And a hard one to play into. But yeah, from a fan perspective, it'd be a great one to have. And yeah, so like that's why I put it on the list. And I think Vara going back to Napoli, playing in the Maradona Stadium, like there's a few interesting stories as well that we could be looking at. Ajax, different story, but yeah, more personal. Is that for me? Like, I actually did live in Amsterdam for a while, so I do like the Ajax team. I know the fans are very good as well, and it's not a team that we've played that often. So there too, it's kind of an interesting, like, fresh challenge. And yeah, it's not the strongest team either, but it's an interesting matchup. And so yeah, it's one that I'd be keen to see. I'll definitely tune in for that one. And then pot 4, I've got Galatasaray and FC Copenhagen. Galatasaray because like they've recruited a lot of players, they've spent a lot of money this mercato, so it's an interesting team. But also, going to Turkey, there's always something crazy about it. And so I want those kind of like crazy hard games. For the PSG Ultras, I can imagine going to Galatasaray would be a little bit of madness, and the chance for them to really prove who they are. So yeah, I think it'd be an interesting matchup. Celtic would be along the same line, but I think Celtic, we've done it not too recently, but when we had Neymar and Cavani and so on, we played there. So yeah, Galatasaray I think would be a little bit more fresh for us. So could be an interesting one. And FC Copenhagen, same thing. Like it's not a team that we faced a lot, despite them being in the Champions League pretty often. And obviously they've recruited Zague, so they have like one of our TT in the team. So there's that little bit of sentimentality to it. Relatively easy game as well. So I'll definitely take that. And yeah, I think for the fans, whether it's hosting them in the park or like a trip to Copenhagen, honestly, it's not the worst place in Europe to go to. So I've got a feeling the fans might be relatively happy with this one as well. So yeah, I take that. So yeah, that would be my draw for it. Yeah, let me know what you think, guys. Let me know. Like the draw is tomorrow, like I said, 6 p.m. French time. So let me know in the comment if you want me to do it live, and if you're interested in that, definitely let me know. Let me know who you're hoping to face and who you're hoping not to face. I think it's gonna be pretty interesting. And then, as always, please like the video, please subscribe to the channel, please hit the bell. And don't forget, draw or not, ici c'est Paris!